What if your soil could come alive in just days? No fertilizer, no chemicals, just an old trick, nearly lost to time. This forgotten method was passed down by those who knew the land before machines ever touched it. It's not in any gardening book or fertilizer label, but it might already be in your kitchen. This simple secret can bring your soil back to life naturally. If you're tired of synthetic solutions and long for the wisdom of the past, you're in the right place. Before we dig in, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the Evergreen Seniors, where old wisdom still grows strong. My neighbor, Miss Edith, is 86 years old, sharp as a tack, stubborn as a mule, and more connected to the earth than anyone I've ever met. Her garden? It's the kind of place you stop and stare at, overflowing with color, buzzing with bees, and soil so rich you'd think it came from a bag labeled miracle. But there's no miracle, just Miss Edith. One summer morning, I finally asked her, "Miss Edith, what do you feed this soil? What's your secret?" She wiped her hands on her apron, gave me that signature half smile, and leaned in like she was about to share a family recipe. "Nothing store-bought," she said. "Just what my papa taught me when I was little back when folks knew the land. Not just the label." Then she showed me. It wasn't anything fancy. No shiny packaging. No complicated process. Just something sitting in her kitchen. Something I had overlooked 100 times. But when she added it to her soil, I watched it transform. The texture changed. The smell deepened. And within days, her garden seemed to pulse with life. I realized this wasn't just about gardening. It was about remembering. About going back to the roots, literally, and trusting in the quiet wisdom that kept our grandparents' gardens alive long before fertilizers had names we couldn't pronounce. And today, I want to show you what Miss Edith showed me. Soil Health Primer: Why Microbes Matter. Healthy soil isn't just dirt. It's alive. Under every thriving garden is an entire hidden universe. One that can't be seen with the naked eye, but is working nonstop beneath your feet. This underground world is filled with trillions of microscopic workers, called microbes, and they are the unsung heroes of every successful garden. These tiny organisms, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and more, may be invisible, but their impact is massive. They break down organic matter like leaves, food scraps, and dead roots into rich, plant-available nutrients. They help retain water in the soil during dry spells and improve drainage during heavy rains. They unlock minerals, stimulate root growth, and even create natural defenses against pests and plant diseases. Without them, soil becomes just a lifeless mix of sand, silt, and clay, something you can't grow much in. With them, your garden becomes a thriving, balanced ecosystem. Miss Edith knew this, even if she never used words like microbial biodiversity or soil biome. What she did know, through experience, passed down from generations, was that if you take care of the soil takes care of your plants. Her secret, as it turns out, wasn't some fancy supplement or overpriced product. It was something simple, natural, and incredibly effective. Something that microbes absolutely love, like a banquet, served straight to their microscopic tables. When she added it to her garden beds, it didn't just feed the plants, it fed the life in the soil. And when you feed the soil life, everything changes. Greener leaves, stronger roots, fewer pests, more resilience in tough weather, and perhaps most important of all, a deeper connection to the land, the past, and the quiet wisdom that comes from doing things the old way, not the chemical way. So if you've been frustrated with lifeless soil, slow growth, or gardens that just don't thrive like they used to, hang tight, because we're about to reveal exactly what Miss Edith used and how you can use it too. No chemicals, no fertilizer, just wisdom from the earth, and a little help from its tiniest workers. The forgotten secret revealed. Ancient technique, Fermented Plant Juice, FPJ. So what was Miss Edith's secret? She called it plant tonic, but it's more widely known as Fermented Plant Juice, or FPJ. This simple, powerful method has been used for generations by homesteaders, small-scale farmers, and even in World War II victory gardens. Before fertilizers came in plastic bottles, folks used what they had, and what they had worked beautifully. Fermented plant juice is more than just a homemade fertilizer. It's a natural microbial booster that brings tired soil back to life, quickly and naturally. It doesn't just feed your plants, it feeds the soil microbes we talked about earlier. And when they're happy, your whole garden flourishes. Here's how Miss Edith showed me to make it. Step 1. Gather soft, green plant material. She uses overripe fruits, like bananas, young weeds, leafy greens, or kitchen scraps, anything that's soft, natural, and still holds moisture. Miss Edith always said, if it rots sweet, it works great. Step 2. Mix it with brown sugar. Use a 1-to-1 ratio by weight. So if you have 1 cup of plant matter, mix it with 1 cup of brown sugar. The sugar pulls out the juices and feeds the right kind of bacteria, the good kind that breaks things down and builds the soil. Step 3. Store it in a clean, dry jar. Cover it with a cloth or breathable lid and place it in a warm, dark spot, like a pantry or cabinet. Let it ferment for 5 to 7 days. You'll start to notice a pleasant, slightly sweet, fermented smell, kind of like fruit vinegar. That's when you know it's ready. Step 4. Dilute it and apply. Strain the liquid and mix 1 to 2 tablespoons of FPJ into a gallon of water. Then pour it directly at the base of your plants, or use it as a light foliar spray. Don't overdo it. It's strong stuff. That's it. No machines. No fancy gadgets. Just plants, sugar, time, and trust. And what happens next? You start seeing signs of life. Earthworms return. Leaves perk up. Soil smells rich and earthy. And your garden begins to respond. Fast. What I love most about this method isn't just how effective it is. It's how accessible it is. You don't need to spend a dime. You don't need to drive to the store. You just need to remember the old ways, the ones passed down, neighbor to neighbor, like Miss Edith did for me. It's gardening with heart, with memory, with soul. Ever heard of this before? Would you give it a try? Or do you have your own old school gardening trick that's been in the family for generations? Drop it in the comments below. Someone might learn from your story just like I learned from Miss Edith. Let's keep the wisdom growing. Why it works. This ancient liquid, fermented plant juice, may look humble, but don't let that fool you. It's a microbe magnet, teeming with life. As it sits and ferments, something magical happens, naturally occurring. Beneficial bacteria begin to multiply. These microbes break down the sugars and plant material into simpler forms, creating a living tonic that's perfectly suited for soil life. When you pour it into your garden, you're not just feeding your plants, you're awakening the entire ecosystem beneath the surface. Think of it like yogurt, but for your plants. Just as yogurt adds good bacteria to your gut, FPJ adds good bacteria to your soil. And just like a healthy gut helps you digest food better, healthy soil helps your plants access nutrients more efficiently, hold on to water longer, and fight off disease with greater ease. This microbial activity is what brings your garden to life. It softens hard soil. It balances the pH. It draws in earthworms. It creates conditions where roots can breathe, stretch, and thrive. And the best part? It's gentle. It doesn't shock your plants like chemical fertilizers. It doesn't build up harmful salts or strip your soil of life over time. Instead, it restores balance, naturally and quietly. Here's why it matters so much today. Many modern soils are depleted. Years of over-farming, synthetic fertilizers, and harsh chemicals have stripped the life right out of them. They may look fine on the surface, but deep down, they're sterile, empty of the microbial diversity that healthy plants need. That's why Miss Edith's garden looks the way it does. She never broke trust with the soil. She never reached for the quick fix. She trusted the slow, steady wisdom passed down through the hands of those who came before. Our grandparents didn't have shelves full of shiny bottles and complex chemical names. They had scraps, jars, time, and wisdom. And it worked. In fact, it still works. Maybe better than ever. So when you mix up your first batch of FPJ, you're not just making a fertilizer. You're stepping back into a rhythm, one that honors the land, the seasons, and the slow magic of nature doing what it does best. You're not just gardening. You're remembering. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting a miracle. Miss Edith made it look so simple, a handful of scraps, a scoop of sugar, and a mason jar tucked away on a shelf. But I figured, why not try? At worst, I'd waste a few kitchen leftovers. At best, well, I wasn't even sure what to expect. But what happened in just 4 days completely changed how I see soil and gardening forever. My garden soil had been tired, dry, dusty, the kind that feels dead. When you run it through your fingers, plants were surviving, but not thriving. The color of the leaves was dull, and the soil had that flat, lifeless look no matter how much I watered. Then I added a small batch of fermented plant juice, diluted and poured right at the base of my tomatoes and greens. The next morning, I noticed something subtle. The soil looked darker, moister. A few days later, I bent down and scooped some up. It felt completely different. Rich, earthy, alive. It smelled like a forest floor, that deep, almost sweet scent of healthy soil. But here's what shocked me the most. Worms. I hadn't seen worms in that bed in months. Now, they were wriggling right near the surface, doing their quiet work. That's when I knew this wasn't just a natural fertilizer. This was a rescue mission for my soil. And it was working. The plants followed soon after. Within a week, their leaves looked perkier, with deeper greens and faster growth. It was subtle but undeniable. No flashy chemicals, no overnight gimmicks. Just life coming back into balance. And the best part? I didn't spend a dime. Just used what I had and followed the quiet wisdom passed down by someone who'd spent a lifetime listening to the land. Have you ever experienced something like this? Brought your garden back to life with an old-school trick, or a bit of forgotten wisdom? Maybe something your grandparents used, or something you just stumbled onto. We'd love to hear it. Comment below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Let's keep sharing, learning, and growing together. Because sometimes, the best answers don't come from a store shelf. They come from the past. Bonus: 3 more ancient gardening tricks. Miss Edith's fermented plant juice was just the beginning. Once I saw the results in my soil, I couldn't help but wonder, what else did the old-timers know that we've forgotten? Turns out, plenty. Back when store-bought solutions were a luxury most couldn't afford, folks turned to simple, clever, and time-tested methods to grow strong, healthy gardens. These weren't just hacks. They were part of a lifestyle that honored the land, wasted nothing, and paid attention to the small things that made a big difference. Here are 3 more forgotten gardening secrets that stood the test of time. 1. Bury a banana peel under new plants. Before synthetic fertilizers promised quick potassium, gardeners knew a banana peel under the roots gave plants a slow, steady boost of nutrients. Potassium is essential for flower and fruit production, and banana peels deliver it naturally, with zero waste. Just tuck a piece under the soil when planting tomatoes, peppers, or roses, and let nature do the rest. 2. Water with cooled potato water. After boiling potatoes, don't toss the water. Let it cool and use it to water your plants. It's full of minerals like magnesium, phosphorus, and iron, all gentle but effective nourishment for your garden. Just be sure there's no added salt. This one was a staple in many Depression-era kitchens, where nothing was wasted, not even cooking water. 3. Crushed eggshells at the base of tomato plants. Tomatoes are prone to blossom end rot, that ugly black patch at the bottom of the fruit, often caused by a calcium deficiency. Instead of buying supplements, Grandma would save her eggshells, crush them finely, and scatter them around the base of the plants. Over time, they release calcium into the soil, helping prevent rot and strengthening plant cell walls. These tricks are easy, natural, and cost nothing, just like the best kind of wisdom. And the more you try them, the more connected you feel, not just to your garden, but to the generations before us, who knew how to work with the earth instead of against it. It's not about being old-fashioned. It's about honoring what works. Let's keep the wisdom alive. Have you used any of these tricks before? Did your grandma, grandpa, or a wise neighbor teach you something that's still growing in your memory? Or maybe your backyard? Share it in the comments below. Your story could plant a seed in someone else's garden. Let's keep learning from the past, so we can grow something better today. In today's world, filled with quick fixes, shiny packaging, and promises of instant results, it's easy to forget the quiet power of patience. But Miss Edith's garden? It reminds us of something deeper, that the best things don't always come from a bottle. They come from time, care, and tradition. That real growth, the kind that lasts, often starts with what we already have. Not more, just better, and remembered. Because sometimes, we don't need the latest product. Sometimes, we just need to remember what our hands, our elders, and the earth already knew. If this story sparked an idea, brought back a memory, or made you smile, give this video a like, share it with someone who loves to grow, and subscribe to the Evergreen Seniors. Because here, we believe that old wisdom still works. Let's keep it growing, together.